front, the oldest at 21, is said to be behind the massacre.
Revenge is the motive that's going through this whole theme here.
Police now say Casellas recruited 4 friends to avenge the beating of his wife last summer, a beating blamed on 17-year-old Edwin Santiago. Santiago was one of 6 people assassinated in apartment 612 at 745 Prospect Avenue in Mott Haven. Casellas' wife Lourdes was killed yesterday in apparent retaliation.
Sometime last year, in August, I believe, of '92, the deceased at the courthouse, Mrs. Casellas, obviously was assaulted and beaten, some say quite severely.
Santiago's mother and sister were executed with him in the apartment, and police believe that building resident Chris Hernandez, 15, was shot solely because he was sitting in the lobby as the gunman left. For 10 days, the crime remained unsolved. Then yesterday, Anthony Casellas' wife Lourdes, as we mentioned, was executed in Bronx Supreme Court. A friend of murder victim Santiago was apparently bent on his own revenge.
Apparently, the shooting in the courthouse was in retaliation for the subject's 6 homicides.
Casellas, in court on a drug charge, escaped injury. His friend Luis Ramos, now accused in the massacre, was shot in the arm. One of Casellas' friends told us today he doesn't believe that Anthony Casellas is an executioner.
He's quiet and he's cool to be with. He ain't no criminal.
What about Lourdes?
She's the same way.
Now, there are so many people involved in this murder case that it is a bit hard to follow, but police tell me that Anthony Casellas used to date one of the 6 people that he allegedly killed, Santiago's sister. Now, the sister was supposedly feuding with Anthony Casellas' new girlfriend, who was killed just yesterday in the Bronx courthouse. Now, this second victim had a child who survived the gunfire inside his baby carriage. That child tonight is pretty much rendered an orphan, with his father in custody and his mother dead. Reporting live from the 40th Precinct in the Bronx, I'm Mary Murphy. Now back to the studio.
Most urban killings involve the use of guns. And New Jersey's Assembly made a surprising move today to water down the state's gun control laws, which are among the toughest in the nation right now. After only 10 minutes of debate, the lower house voted to override Governor Floria's veto and repeal the state's ban on most semi-automatics and assault weapons.
I'm saddened by this, but it redoubles my energy to try to make sure that we make a stand for sanity.
The Senate is expected to override the veto within 2 weeks. Governor Florio's called for an election to let the voters decide if there should be a ban on assault weapons.
In this story, the weapon was fire, and it almost snuffed out Christopher Wilson's life. Today, the Brooklyn man who was kidnapped, torched, and left for dead in Florida on New Year's Day told his story to attorneys in Manhattan. Channel 2's Dana Tyler joins us live from Midtown with details. Dana?
Michelle, it has been a long afternoon at the Waldorf Astoria. Christopher Wilson answering questions. Florida authorities came here to question him, the black man from Brooklyn, about what he says 3 white men in Florida did to him nearly 8 weeks ago. This is a deposition process, answering tough questions that can go on for quite a while. It is a mandatory process. The Florida state prosecutor says that a lot depends on what the stock exchange employee remembers about January 1st.
His memory has improved.
Florida State Attorney Len Register says he's pleased but not cocky after his first face-to-face interviews with a 31-year-old Brooklyn man who says he was kidnapped and torched in a hate crime in Florida New Year's Day. Christopher Wilson spent this afternoon on the 29th floor of the Waldorf Astoria in a room with the Florida prosecutor and defense attorneys for the 3 men charged. Register says Wilson, the only witness, is getting stronger after suffering 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 40% of his body.
I was very pleased at what he was able to remember. We're told that as his healing progresses that he should be able to recall more and more, but as is the case often in a crime of violence, the perpetrator does not allow the victim to look at them for long periods or get a good look at their face.
Register would not give details of what Wilson told him today, but here's what Wilson said right after the attack. Wilson told Tampa police he was visiting his girlfriend over the holidays. He said he'd gone to a mall to buy a newspaper when 3 white men forced him back into his car at gunpoint and ordered him to drive. He says they ended up 16 miles away in a wooded area where Wilson was robbed, doused with gasoline, and set afire while racial slurs were directed at him. Wilson ran to a nearby home where residents hosed him down.
He said, why me, God, why me? What did I do?
After providing police with descriptions of 2 men, police soon made 3 arrests. Tampa police say 17-year-old Jeff Pellet said he, Mark Cahoot, and Charles Rourke had been out drinking and taking drugs before attacking Wilson. Pellet later recanted that statement. The prosecutor register still believes he has a case.
We, to date, have no physical evidence virtually linking 2 of the men to the crime. What has been disclosed in court testimony is that the youngest of the defendants, Jeffrey Pellet, has made some significant statements to law enforcement, and we will, try to leverage him to testify against the 2 adults.
Register says Wilson's spirits are high, but he does not want to go on camera. He's still recovering from skin graft surgery from the burns. The public defender from Tampa, I spoke with her before the deposition process. I said, why has it taken so long for you to have this first meeting with Wilson? Is it because he's recovering or because he did not make himself available? She says both. The deposition process resumes tomorrow morning with Florida authorities here at the Waldorf at 10 a.m. And as far as the 3 men charged with robbery, kidnapping, and attempted murder, they remain in jail in Hillsborough County, Florida. If they're convicted, they face life in prison. Reporting live from Midtown, Dana Tyler. Now back to you, Michelle and Jim.
Dana, speaking of danger, you may think police have the most dangerous jobs in the city of New York, but guess again. A new study says you're more likely to die running a small store, bodega, a gas station, or driving a taxi cab. The U.S. Department of Labor found murder was the most likely way for New York City workers to die on their jobs in 1991. That study found 7 out of 10 New Yorkers who died at work were murdered. And this evening, 15-year-old John Rodriguez is awaiting arraignment on charges that he stabbed 15-year-old Angelo Jimenez in the chest yesterday in a hallway of Junior High School 25 in Lower Manhattan. The police say the teens were arguing over a pair of designer sunglasses. Jimenez is the first New York City junior high school student ever killed in a school.
A couple of New York legislators unveiled a bill today that they hope will put the bite on con artists who prey on the elderly. State Senator Roy Goodman and Assemblyman John Ravitz say the law would make it a felony to swindle a senior citizen out of more than $250.
What is happening now is that these con artists are preying on our most helpless, whether they be seniors, whether they be disabled, mentally or physically. This is something that has to stop. That is why this legislation really puts some teeth into law.
If passed, swindlers would face up to 4 years in jail, plus fines.
There'll be plenty of money floating around in Manhattan this evening, all because of Amy Fisher. We'll explain coming up. Plus, why the ashes that were on so many foreheads yesterday brought one courtroom to a halt.
And will the beaches blown away by the big storm be ready when you want to get some sun this summer? We'll have the story next.
Channel 2 News, sponsored by your Tri-State Toyota dealers.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
It's Toyota's first big sales event of the new year, and that means there's great deals on all the new Toyotas, like the 1993 Camry, with legendary Toyota quality, a standard driver's side airbag, and an affordable price.
I want you.
There's plenty of excitement at your Toyota dealer now.
So excited.
During Toyota's first big sales event of the new year.
This is the place you want to be, Florida. And right here, in the middle of it all, there's this place, like no place else. Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. Wild, thrilling, adventurous, mesmerizing. A world apart in the heart of Florida's sun coast. With so much to see and do, Florida is the place to be. From coast to coast to coast.
In 1975, Travis Walton claimed to have been abducted by aliens. It became the only documented case in history where witnesses actually took lie detector tests and passed. They swore that his story was true. Now, 17 years later, these witnesses passed the test again, and Hollywood's opened its biggest investigation since JFK. Witnesses to a fire in the sky. UFO. Only on hard copy.
Tonight at 7 on Channel 2.
Zing, a snack should be.
The New York City Landmarks and Preservation Commission today moved to protect an important part of this city's history. An area of Lower Manhattan has been designated as the African Burial Ground and Commons Historic District. Hundreds of skeletons were discovered during a 1991 excavation for a federal office building, and then more were found earlier this month by a Con Ed crew working near the site. The new historic district begins on Duane Street and extends south to City Hall Park.
Recent storm damage and the preservation of the Long Island coastline was very much on the minds of many who met in Farmingdale today. Correspondent Troy Roberts reports on the issues affecting the fight to save many Long Island beaches.
2 months after the driving rains and high tides from the worst winter storm in a century, Long Island is still struggling to recover. In a 1-2 punch, the nor'easter left behind miles of devastated coastline, damaging the ecosystem and finally threatening the economic future of thousands of residents. The once pristine coastline is now pockmarked with wide breaches. Empty plots remain where beach homes once stood, and area waterways are clogged with sand and debris.
The devastation is incredible, and it's difficult to conceive of the depth of the devastation until you're in the air and you have an aerial view.
This was Freeport, Long Island, 2 months ago, underwater. The town's business district has dried out since then, and while Memorial Day weekend is still many months away, business owners fear the storm may have already robbed them of their all-important summer business.
The people think that once we get in water for weeks, we're underwater, which is not true. You know, we're only underwater for a couple of hours, and then the water goes.
Concerned about the storm's impact on Long Island's summer tourism industry, officials from Nassau and Suffolk counties toured the area by helicopter today.
And this is not to suggest that steps haven't been taken over the years. They have, very frankly. A lot of it, though, turns out to be a temporary Band-Aid approach. What we're really looking for is a long-range approach.
A little bit of assistance is already on its way to help commercial and recreational boating this summer. The Suffolk County Legislature has approved $3 million to dredge waterways filled with sand and silt during the December storm. Besides emergency action, long-term planning is needed as well. This June, officials from Suffolk and Nassau County will sit down to devise a strategy to better preserve the beaches and shorelines. In the meantime, Long Island rushes to pick up the pieces from Storm 92 before the summer season begins. In Freeport, Long Island, Troy Roberts, Channel 2 News.
Believe it or not, we may have another storm to worry about just in time for the weekend. Stormfield's here with the forecast next.
Plus the story of the boy who came in from the cold. A skier survives a lonely, chilly ordeal. And the Amy Fisher name may be drawing a crowd in Manhattan. This evening, we'll explain. Next.
An infamous bounty hunter.
Which one of you dies where you're standing?
Is moved to help a desperate man.
Are you coming with me or not?
In a life and death rescue of his kidnapped bride.
If I don't get the answers I want, I'm going to start shooting again. She ain't dead. Leastwise, not yet.
You're not going to bring her back.
Naomi Judd, Travis Tritt, Stacy Keach, and Kenny Rogers.
They said you was dead. Well, I ain't.
They'll meet their fate in Rio Diablo Sunday.
Mario Perillo, Mr. Italy, and Alitalia are the world's leading specialists to Italy. You know, I may not look it, but I've been at this for 50 years creating fantastic tours at affordable prices. Let Mario escort you from the Alps to Sicily. We take care of everything. You relax, free to enjoy Italy's monumental cities or the charming little villages off the beaten track. For this free Perillo brochure, see your travel agent or call 1-800-255-5000 now.
Coming up on the CBS Evening News here on Channel 2, Hillary Rodham Clinton now is using hers again. So is Marilyn Tucker Quayle. So will these brides stand by their men and their maiden names? More about what's in a woman's name after the Channel 2 News.
Have you seen all the press Ford's been getting? Ford Taurus is the #1 selling car in America. In fact, of the 10 best-selling vehicles in America, 5 of them are Fords. Only your Ford dealer can make this claim. I keep telling you, Ford is winning back America.
Now, choose between an Escort 3-door, 4-door, 5-door, or wagon and pay just $199 a month for 24 months.
Your Ford dealer is winning back America with 5 of the 10 bestsellers. See your tri-state quality Ford dealer and see for yourself.
Bill Walsh for Sharp.
In sports, you'd better know where your X's and O's are. It's no different in business.
you need a game plan. And Sharp's got winning game plans for your business. A booklet that'll help you find the right copier, like Sharp's high-volume duplicating system that's going to increase your productivity and reduce your operating expenses. And how Sharp, the #1 fax company, can show you a plain paper laser fax with the lowest cost per copy in the industry. So call 1-800-BE-SHARP for your winning game plan. Believe me, nothing beats winning.
After 3 television movies and months of continuous media coverage, it appears the public still has not had enough of Amy Fisher. The affair continues tonight when Fisher's original beeper contract goes on the auction block at the Sheraton Hotel here in Manhattan. The contract has Amy's signature, and included is a copy of Amy's driver's license used to get the beeper. Amy reportedly wore the pager so her alleged lover, Joey Buttafuoco, could get in touch with her. All right, to the weather now. Can you believe we might have another storm this weekend?
I can believe anything. The way things are going,
What's
yes.
going on?
Don't believe it.
Okay.
Don't believe it. Now, actually, there is a storm that's making its way through the midsection of the country and has caused extensive snowfall in places like Kansas City, Missouri, where they've had up to a foot of snow. And there's been a lot of snow in southern Illinois. But the storm is tracking south of us, so we're going to be on the northern edge of it. We might get some snow activity from it, but it is not going to be significant. At least that's what we're looking at right now. And I pretty much go by that. 25 degrees outside right now, winds from the west at 5 miles an hour. Here's what our map looks like. You've got a tremendous system back in here. It is moving across, but again, notice the leading edge of it is just moving into Pennsylvania, and as it makes its way across into the Atlantic, the center of the storm should pass through into the North Carolina coastal line. You can see the wind up here of the system, so we're going to be on the northern edge of this. The atmosphere right now is fairly dry, and it is cold, so anything that does come down will be snow, but right now it does not support a lot of snow for us. Temperatures tonight, quite cold, dropping down to about 18 degrees here in the city, surrounding suburbs well down into the teens, increasing clouds tonight into tomorrow morning. Then I think we might be looking at a little bit of activity, especially in the afternoon hours, sometime afternoon to the early evening. And then once that all passes through with that snow, we'll begin to clear out a little bit for Saturday. Temperatures throughout the period, remember this time of year, the normal high should be around 43 degrees. And for the next 5 days, we are going to be staying colder than normal again. And I think that's the big weather story.
But colder. Nothing significant.
No, I don't look for any big storm this time.
Okay, Star. Thanks.
12 inches of insignificant. A 12-year-old Brooklyn boy is recovering today from his own personal battle with the elements after being trapped alone in the sub-zero snowy mountain wilderness of Vermont. Joseph Mastriano was skiing at Killington Mountain on Saturday when he was cut off by 2 other skiers, beginners, he says. Mastriano ended up off the trail on a secluded path. He took off his skis and walked. He tried to find his way back, but he couldn't. He left his poles and goggles for rescuers to follow. So he says he eventually burrowed himself into a snowbank 4 feet deep to survive. His ordeal lasted 24 hours, about.
Then time went on and it started to get dark, so I dug myself a ditch. And that's what the doctor said saved my life.
How big was it?
4 feet deep.
Now, how did you know to do that?
I have sort of common sense.
Mastriano was rescued Sunday morning. His feet frostbitten a little. Doctors say after his feet heal, he'll walk normally and he'll also ski again. You can bet on it.
Straight ahead, a judge orders an attorney and his client to clean up.
We'll have that story of an Ash Wednesday ruling that's causing a ruckus coming up.
It's President's Month at your Tri-Honda dealer. To qualify for a great deal on a new Honda, name a president.
Light. It is the first element of creation. Nothing brings it more elegantly or shapes it more beautifully than Andersen windows and patio doors. Live in the light of Andersen windows. Come home to Andersen.
Dreyfus knows opportunities have to be chosen carefully, which is why smart investors will find the Dreyfus Growth and Income Fund so appealing. Last year, the Dreyfus Growth and Income Fund grew over 20%, more than double the performance of the S&P 500. For more information and a free prospectus, call 1-800-DREYFUS. Dreyfus Growth and Income Fund. survival of the smartest.
Come celebrate the grand opening of Harrow's in Paramus. All stores join in with huge savings on swimming pools, installation, patio furniture, and grills. Join the fun at Harrow's.
Miss Saigon, Newsweek raves, the show is already a legend. A musical epic, lush in melody, extravagant in emotion, grand in ambition. The New York Times hails it as gripping entertainment. Its brilliant theatricality and inspiring humanism make it a triumphantly vibrant, courageous work of musical theater. From the creators of Les Miserables comes the classic love story of our time, Miss Saigon. Call Telecharge 239-6200.
USA Today asked car dealers which car they rated best. Who are we to argue?
If you're looking for an honest repairman, wait till you see what we uncovered.
He's dishonest, without a doubt.
A Shame on You report, tonight at 11 on Channel 2 News.
Leona Helmsley had an unwelcome visitor at the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut this week. A sheriff serving her with a $5 million lawsuit. James Houlihan of Deer Park, Long Island, claims Helmsley ruined his career as a chef. Houlihan was injured and then fired 15 months ago when he fell on the ice that was spewing out of a freezer at the Helmsley estate. Helmsley has served nearly a year of a 4-year sentence for tax evasion.
A courtroom was the second stop of the day for an attorney and his client on Ash Wednesday. First they went to church, and then what happened once they faced the judge is raising some eyebrows. Channel 2's Lisa Castleman has more on a ruling causing a new clash between church and state.
To observant Catholics, receiving ashes on Ash Wednesday is a purely religious act. The symbol of penance worn on the forehead has no political or legal meaning. But yesterday, the presence of ashes in a Nassau County courtroom prompted a move by Judge Jeffrey O'Connell that took many people by surprise. It was jury selection during a criminal mischief trial. The defendant and the assistant district attorney prosecuting the case were both wearing ashes on their foreheads. After the break, though, the defendant was no longer wearing the ashes, and the defense attorney requested to the judge that he have the ADA remove his ashes as well.
My job as a defense attorney is to make sure my client gets a fair trial and an impartial jury, and anything that can affect that in any way, I have to make sure I object to, and that's what I did.
Judge O'Connell asked ADA David McAndrews if he'd remove the ashes voluntarily, but McAndrews objected, saying he had a right to wear them. O'Connell then ordered him to remove the ashes, saying, quote, "It is optional for a Catholic to wear them or not to wear them, since they are worn to communicate something to the observer, and it has a communication that has nothing to do with a criminal trial. I do not believe it is appropriate for them to be worn during a trial." ADA McAndrews declined to comment on the case, but his boss, Dennis Dillon, spoke out.
I think the judge could have reacted in a more sensitive way. What he did was within his discretion.
Judge O'Connell said he based the decision on a Brooklyn court ruling in the mid-1980s when a priest serving as a defense lawyer was ordered to remove his Roman collar while in court.
It is not to be confused with religious garb, which might indicate a status within the religious community. As I say, it's a sacramental. It's meant to remind the recipient of his mortality. In fact, it's a symbol of humility, if anything.
While the judge's order did raise a lot of questions, no one involved in the case took official action to challenge it. The case did, however, serve as a reminder that honoring the separation of church and state is sometimes easier said than done. Lisa Castleman, Channel 2 News.
Still ahead this evening is a comeback in the cards for LT.
Rock's up next with the latest word straight from the star linebacker's mouth. Sports is next.
Can you say it takes?
During the Dodge President's Week sale, we'll do anything it takes. Starting with $500 cash back on Shadow ES. No $750. Okay, $1,000.
Can you say it takes?
A loaded 6-passenger Spirit would be a great deal at $15,000. How would you like it under 12 grand? Plus, immediate delivery on the spot financing, low down payment. At the Dodge President's Week sale.
Across America, nobody installs more shocks, brakes, batteries, or tires than Sears. And for 3 days only, all tires are on sale at Sears. All Goodyear, all Michelin, all Bridgestone, all BF Goodrich. Every tire, like all Guardsman radials as low as $15.88. 3 days only, all tires all on sale. For brakes, batteries, shocks, and tires,
you can count on me.
America counts on Sears.
Some home equity lenders tease you with low introductory rates. Not the money store. Right now, we're offering qualified homeowners fixed-rate home equity loans as low as 8%. That means after 90 days, your low rate would be 8%. And after 2 years, just 8%. At the money store, we guarantee your low fixed rate will never go up. Apply right now. 1-800-LOAN-YES. The money store where America goes for money.
Channel 2 Sports, sponsored by your Tri-State Lincoln Mercury dealers.
Don't think of this as a commercial for the new Lincoln Mark 8. Think of it as a highlight film. Sorry, that's as slow as it gets.
To get special lease terms on the new 32-valve, 280-horsepower Lincoln Mark 8, act fast.
Jim, you've just been named CBS franchise player. You're protected. All NFL teams must name 2 or 3 players they want to protect from free agency by the end of today. The Jets have pegged James Hasty and Rob Moore as their protected ball players. The Giants have yet to make their picks public. One guy who the Giants won't have to protect but says he'll return for his 13th NFL season, Lawrence Taylor. LT met with new head coach Dan Reeves yesterday and liked what he heard. As a matter of fact, Taylor's reportedly recovering well from Achilles surgery and has been playing basketball to gain strength. Reeves says he'll wait to decide what kind of defense the Giants will play, depending on LT's status. On the ice tonight, Islanders and Devils continue to jockey for a playoff spot. The Isles skate at Quebec while the Devils are at Philadelphia. Last night, the Rangers lost to the Vancouver Canucks for the first time in 14 games, as the Broadway Blues saw another victory slip away. Game also saw the end of a long scoring drought by Mark Messier. Off the great passing by Zubov and Amante, Messier snapped a 1-1 tie with his first goal in 11 games. He scored a second one later. But with the Rangers up 4-3 in the third, Vancouver scored 2 goals in less than a minute and a half. Off the giveaway here, Peter Nedved beats Van Beesbrook for the game winner. The Canucks beat the Rangers for the first time in 5 years. Well, at Buffalo, it was goaltenders' night off as the Sabres and Red Wings combined for 17 goals. 2 of the NFL's best strutted their stuff, NHL that is. Detroit's Steve Yzerman, who surpassed the 1,000-point plateau with a goal and 3 assists, scored right there. Meanwhile, Sabre sharpshooter Alexander McGillney scored not 3, but 4 goals, giving him 60 on the season. Buffalo won it 10-7. Well, the Knicks and Nets have started the second half of the NBA season heading in different directions. Despite their second sloppy game, the Knicks eked out a victory at Milwaukee last night. Knicks looked so horrendous, Pat Riley couldn't stand it and decided to get thrown out of the ball game. 2 quick technicals. Ended up missing quite a finish, though. Knicks came back from 13 down. Under a minute left, Charles Oakley came up with one of his 17 rebounds plus 2 of his 15 points, cutting the lead to just 1. Then Patrick Ewing, who missed a last-second shot against the Bucks earlier this year, was on target this time. John Starks hit 2 late free throws to secure the victory. At Boston, the Nets are trying anything these days to win. Derek Coleman tackles Reggie Lewis, but still couldn't keep him from scoring the hoop. Lewis led the Celtics with 31. Nets trailed by 16 at the break and staged a little comeback. Kenny Anderson with a pretty drive to the hoop, up and in for 2 of his 20 points. But Boston proved to be too much. Sherman Douglas, the alley-oop to the X-Man. Xavier McDaniel with the exclamation point. The Nets dropped their second straight on the road. In college hoops, Kentucky star Jamal Mashburn has decided to enter the NBA draft after his junior season this year. I'm Rock, and that is sports. Jim?
And I thank you for that designation. That's Channel 2 News at 6. I'm Jim Jensen.
And I'm Michele Marsh. The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather is next. Ernie Anastas and I will be here later with Channel 2 News at 11. We'll see you then. Have a great evening.
A bigger tax on cigarettes.